All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim. 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come.
The late great astrophysicist Stephen Hawking believed with more than 100 billion stars in our galaxy, the odds are pretty good that aliens exist. And he's not alone. Every day, people across Canada report seeing a UFO. And while most can be identified, as CTV's Janet Dirks reports, some things just can't be explained.
I got it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
What the hell?
That strange light in the sky is one of 1,100 UFO sightings in Canada last year. According to the annual survey released by Ufology Research of Manitoba, there are at least 3 such sightings in the country every day.
UFO reports are still a thing. People are reporting them in greater and greater numbers every year.
Montreal is Canada's UFO capital, with 74 sightings reported last year, followed by Toronto, then Vancouver. It's not that these cities are on an extraterrestrial highway. It's a matter of population, says the report's author.
If a tree's falling in the forest, you need somebody to hear it. So if there's a UFO in the sky, the more people around to see it, the more reports you get.
None of the sightings matched the drama of the X-Files.
The truth is out there.
But something was out there, according to 10 campers in Quebec who reported a triangular object that hovered and then flew off. One of them drew the scene. In Oshawa, a wildlife photographer captured an odd-shaped disc in the sky. This scientist says people should be critical, but still open-minded.
There's a few that really just get me scratching my head saying, what could it have been?
The survey says of the 1,100 sightings, only 8% are unexplained, and that can be whittled down to 1% of so-called high-quality unknowns.
In fact, none of these cases, shout that aliens are here. But what they do say is that people are reporting things, and maybe science should take a closer look at some of them.
Since the survey began nearly 30 years ago, more than 19,000 Canadians have reported seeing something strange in the sky. That makes them think we're not alone.
Number 71 Papa Golf negative.
Okay. Stop this. It's a UFO.
How could people ignore what's going on in the emerging markets? You're looking at the emerging markets indexes, they're in bear market territory. Look at the Shanghai index, the Hang Seng, they're in bear market territory. They're down over 20%. I mentioned what's going on in India. Now they have tariffs on imports because they're afraid of where their economy is going. We see more danger ahead than positive growth. And again, we are definitely in the camp that the only reason why there has been any kind of equity market recovery is because of all the cheap money flow going in. And just to put it into perspective of the general economy, in the United States, since 2009, when the recovery began, 95% of the wealth went to the 1%. The rest of the people are struggling. So no, this is no great stock market rebound. And at some time these schemes end. And we believe the end is nearer than the future of growth continuing.
The UN says 6.1 million South Sudanese people are still food insecure. Despite a peace deal being in place, more than 200,000 people are still residing in UN compounds across the country, unable to return to their homes and start farming.
If peace takes hold, this must be coupled with a resilience program to rebuild the capacity of the people of South Sudan to grow their own food and chase off the specter of hunger.
Juba says it expects the peace deal it signed with opposition groups to hold, which would help bring an end to food insecurity.
We are also fully committed to ensuring enhanced trade in all areas of the country, uninterrupted access for humanitarian aid, and enabling environment for people to return to their homes.
Poor road networks across the country make it difficult for aid workers to deliver food assistance to those in need, and aid agencies are urging international donors for more funds. Humanitarian agencies say they often have to rely on air transport to deliver food aid to many parts of the country. These food airdrops are 6 times more expensive than other types, such as land or water transport drops, which is yet another hurdle in rebuilding the war-torn country. Patrick Koyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
Unimaginable devastation flying over that one community in particular, Mexico Beach. So many homes gone, pulled right off of their foundations, and there is news coming in as we come on the air. Word of a new discovery as search and rescue teams go from home to home there. What Rob Marciano has just learned, they had feared this. The death toll had already been rising today, more than a dozen dead. We also have new images tonight of the intense search and rescue operation underway elsewhere. Survivors pulled out by helicopter in many areas, trapped vehicles could not get to them. And look at this tonight, Mexico Beach before Hurricane Michael made landfall, and this is what it looks like afterward. Just stunning. Meteorologist Rob Marciano is right there tonight, and he has just learned of that new discovery, what authorities have told Rob moments ago.
Tonight, time is running out to find survivors in the storm zone. Customs and Border Protection using Black Hawk helicopters to rescue 2 residents from Panama City, hoisting them to safety. The area impossible to reach by vehicle. Officials tonight saying many areas are just too dangerous for people to return to. As we make our way to Mexico Beach, you can see destruction everywhere you look. This is where Michael made landfall. That 14-foot storm surge and those 155-mile-per-hour winds.
This is where the wind and surge was greatest. The water ripping these homes off their foundations and carrying them, in some cases, hundreds of yards inland. The stronger, higher buildings remain, but the expanse of the damage is mind-boggling.
Emily Hansen and her mother shell-shocked by the devastation.
It's pretty devastating. Like, everybody we know lost their house. Everybody. And our jobs.
Daniel Krupp reluctantly deciding to ride out the storm with his wife and their dog Leo.
We didn't want to be here. We had to come home because we had our animals here and we had some people watching our animals. The storm increased so rapidly that we didn't have time to get out of here.
He's lucky to be alive. Nearby, Tyndall Air Force Base also taking a direct hit. Today, we saw cargo planes arrive, carrying teams to get the base back up and running. Before finally moving off the coast, Michael drenching Virginia and the Carolinas with more than 9 inches of rain in some spots, triggering widespread flash flooding and water rescues, killing at least 8 people, including a firefighter. Well over 1 million without power in the storm zone tonight. Some estimates for the damage from Michael near $4.5 billion.
And Rob Marciano with us live tonight from Mexico Beach. Rob, such an incredible scene there. We saw it there yesterday. You're back there at Ground Zero today. And I wanted to ask you, because officials had feared this, that with so many homes simply gone, that they might find additional victims. And you just talked with the fire chief there?
I did, David. Just a few moments ago, the Florida fire chief in charge of search and rescue today confirmed to me the first fatalities here in Mexico Beach, that being one. But they are now sending an additional search team out with a dog to search for the person they believe to have been with the deceased. And after being in that town, that zone, seeing those mounds, those huge mounds of debris, I can only imagine that this won't be the last that we hear of fatalities.
Isaiah 13:11, and I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible.